Hi there, Mr. Automation. I'm back today with a short demo on some fun with PowerShell. And specifically, we are going to use the Windows speech assembly. And what we can do with that, we can do some fun stuff with that for sure. And let's go to the sort of agenda. It's very simple, it's a lot of interaction basically, not much talking, it's a lot of doing stuff, so to speak. So we're going to import the speech assembly inside of PowerShell. And we start with that. And how you do that, I'll show you. So you can add an assembly inside of PowerShell. And this time we call it the speech system.speech. That's the one we want to use, and that's a .NET assembly. And here we create an object based on that assembly we just imported. And let's clear the screen a little bit. I was debugging a little bit. And after that we use this object and call the speak method. And what you can, perhaps I'll do it async for now, because I'm quite sure we can have some fun with that later. So I did this on purpose. Let's do a speak async and just run this for now. And we already got an error here, so probably I create an error. I'm quite sure of that. Let me try to detect that. Hang on. Yes, it helps, of course, if I create a script file of this. I did not do that. I created a ps1m file, and it's a module that doesn't work, of course. Let's run that
I can
again.
speak from PowerShell.
Let's run that again.
I can speak from PowerShell.
I can speak from PowerShell. Okay, so this works. This works. Sticky fingers.
This works.
This works. Okay, so that's a very simple example, on how to use a speech engine with a hard-coded value. It's kind of lame this, you need to type every time. So yeah, this is just the beginning, of advancing a little bit. So we refer to the speech engine inside of the namespace in the imported assembly. Yes, so this is the referral, so to speak, to that namespace that comes from this DLL file. We did a simple demo, and the simple demo was just this works. That's very simple, just some hard-coded value, and then speak that with the speech engine. Now we're going to use a parameter. I will switch this, by the way. I will do a different order. So we use now an input parameter for our script. So we're going to advance it a little bit, and perhaps we do one step more and create a variable. So for instance, we create a text variable equals this needs to be spoken. We can stick the text inside of there. And let's see what we get back.
This needs to be spoken.
This needs to be spoken. You see that? So that works as well. So now, but still, it's like variable. It's a little bit more flexible than we had like the hard-coded value here. But still, now it's sort of hard-coded here, right? So we can move that a level up more, so to speak. So we can add a parameter block, a param. That's not param. You open and close that, and then you do some brackets openings, and then you type parameter, and then you get some. You can do some help descriptions and such. I don't do that now. I'll keep it as simple as possible. I cast this to it and use that as a text value. It will be type of string. Now you want to speak something, and it's a string, of course, and we set the mandatory flag to false for now. Provide false. What you can do now is, for instance, move this text that we have here. You can move that and assign it there. We have some more flexibility now. I'll show you in a second why that is. So now I remove this hard-coded value. We still have the hard-coded value here, but it can be overwritten already. So if you now run it,
this needs to be spoken.
This needs to be spoken. Not very exciting, but if we do now speech.ps1 minus text, and why minus text, and why is that recognized? Because we specified here an input parameter of type text, and PowerShell is smart enough to recognize it. So if I do a minus T, I do control space. See, it already knows text. It automatically fills it in. I can also do T and a tab completion, and it automatically knows that we have only a text there that as a parameter that's accepted. And then you can feed it some. We can speak from here as well.
We can speak from here as well.
You see, this needs to be spoken, is totally ignored. And if you want to advance that a little bit more, you set the mandatory flag to true. And if you now, for instance, run the script, doesn't matter how you run it, and for instance, you forget it. So you just run speech, and you just run it. Now it prompts you, tells you, hey, I want to have some input for text because you specified that it's mandatory. So we specify some text there. I am Mark, doesn't matter.
I am Mark.
I am Mark. You see that? So that's accepted now as well. And basically we can remove this whole hard-coded value because it does nothing anymore. Since we set the mandatory flag to true, that means you always need to provide an input, so that's not valid anymore. And now all of a sudden we have a very small script, but without any hard-coded values, you know, there's no hard-coded values inside of here. So we already have something you can sort of modularize, you know, use from another script perhaps. So
we can speak from here as well.
See it? So that still works. So that's a little bit more advanced. Now we speech from a text file, and perhaps we do that later. We first convert it to a module, and then from that module we accept some file from an external source. So we convert it to a module. Yes, I'm still recording. The last recording went wrong, by the way. So I'm recording this for the second time. Where was I? Convert it to a module. Yes. So what we do here, I press F2 there, and PSM1. That's all you do. And now this is a module. And inside of a module, no parameters can live, no code can live, no script can live. But what can live there are functions and I think classes as well. And I did not mean to do that, so I will do that. Function speechme. And we open and close that. And we stick everything we already had in our wonderful script inside of that function. See that? And I'll remove the empty lines here to give some a nice clean function here. So what we can do now, I already have that sort of in place. So for instance, you have a script, and I call it now new.ps1. You can import that module we just created there, right? And what this does, this import module, and I will remove this, by the way, because we're going to do that in a second. I prepared this a little bit in the first video I created that was on pause while I was creating instructions, so there's a lot of stuff missing there. Yeah, still recording. So now we have this function, and we can import that function, and we do that. Yes, I was disturbed a little bit. So we get the file content here of this speech.txt file, and I'll do that now. You see here, we want some proof. Pretty cool, huh? So that's now inside of this file content variable. What we can then do is for each line inside of the content, we can then call that speech method with that input of that line, right? And let's do that. Let's see what we get. Let's run this.
We want some more proof.
You see that? And perhaps, so did you hear that? I mean, another line. This will be the last line. Save that. Now run it again.
I want some more last line.
Did you hear that? Everything was sort of mixing to each other, and that's of course not what we want. And let's clear the screen here a little bit and do some examination on that object we're working with. So we have this speak object, right? But you can see it's of type system speech synthesizer voice info. And we know that, of course, you know, we sort of created that object here, but we can do some nice stuff with that. For instance, you can pipe it to get member. So we tapping a little bit deeper inside of the object, so what it sort of can do, right? So property wise, method wise. If you don't know what a property or a method is, a property is all .NET classes sort of have properties and methods, and some of them they are exposed publicly, so to speak. So when you import the DLL, you can have a look at the public interfaces that they provide to you, and those are basically APIs, you know. Just see it like that. And what you can do is sort of with PowerShell you can reverse engineer that. So what I did now is do a speak, and I did a get member on that, and then I can select voice, for instance. I don't know what it is, but we can probably do something with that. And what I see as well, get installed voices, for instance. So let's modify our module a little bit and change the voice. Just use another voice here. So what we do is speak. I said speak dot get installed voices, and that's a method. So you open and close it. You see that get installed voices. It's a method. We can call it. So I'll do that now. Yes. So I'll do that now. So we get the installed voices and we expand by the property of voice info. Expand property voice info. And I press F8. You see? And now we have this all the voices that are available. So for instance, we have like a gender female, and that's Microsoft Zira desktop. You see that here? So let's see if we can change the voice. I think we can. So we can speak dot. I think it's. Let's see what we can do. Voice, select voice. Yeah, I think that's the one. Select voice. Then we can feed that argument. So what we did here on the line 60, we get the installed voices, and then here down you see like female, and again we have Microsoft Hazel desktop as well available, and we have a male that's called Microsoft David desktop. That's the default one, so to speak. So now we're going to call our speech function again. What we did, we changed the voice to Microsoft Zira desktop. You can of course comment this out, because that was just for some troubleshooting purposes. And if we now go back to our script, that still reaches out to our text file here, and it will speak everything, and I don't need to do that, by the way. And if I now press run the script, press F5, and it should use another voice.
And I want some more last line.
Okay, that was still a lot of stuff that went through each other, so to speak, so we need to address that. Yeah. So let's go to the speech method, and basically what you hear is that everything was still going to each other, so to speak. And what we can do if we inspect this speak object, I already showed that with get member. So you have the select voice, but you also have, let me see if we can see that here. Yeah, we should be able to see that here. Yeah, so you have a speak async. We're using it now, speak async, and it feeds some text. And what an async does, that's in all programming, so at least in .NET, it's calling something and it's not waiting for it, so to speak. It's a sort of in the void. It calls something and then it continues, so to speak. And what we can do as well, you see speak method as well. And if you do a speak, that will wait. It's not an async call. So let's run our script again, and let's see if we see some different output here. I don't know, or we hear some different output. Hang on.
And I want some more last line.
Still a little bit messy, I think, so we have some stuff to address there. Yeah, I already spotted the problem, by the way. Yes, we have some stuff to address indeed. What I did not do was the speech was called still a script file, so it did not pick up our changes. Hang on, I need to change that, by the way. So we change that back, PSM1, and if we now call this function, it asked me for a voice. Sorry, I added that. I was recording again and it got paused, so I need to record that again. So let's break this up. Now we go to new, run this again.
We want some more proof.
Perfect. This is what I
Pretty cool, huh?
Pretty cool.
Another line.
Another line.
And this will be the last line.
Last line, but not really.
We do another magic line.
Do another magic line. So that was it. So I showed you how to fix that with the speech stuff. So now I want to show you something else. So for instance, if you look inside of this speech object again, and we press F8, and I want to do it differently, by the way. Speak pipe to get member, and let's have a look, because we already got sort of the voices, but you can also select the voice, right? So then we change the voice that's spoken, and perhaps that's a nice one to add here to our function. And I already prepared it a little bit, or not prepared it, but the video crashed, so I'll do it again. So what we can do now is, for instance, this speak has a dot select voice that accepts a string as an argument. And what we do is this voice we stick inside of there. You know, we don't want any hard-coded values in our modules. You know, that's bad. You know, no hard-coded values in your functions. That really comes from parameters. And what we can do now is sort of I need to close that one, by the way. Now we can sort of call this function now with one of the valid voices. And which is a valid voice? I don't know out of my head. Let's see. So we have Microsoft Zira, we have David, and we have Hazel desktop, for instance. So we take that over, we bring that over to our script, and what I can do now is minus voice, and we can add Hazel desktop there as a string. Now let's see. I don't know if we run the script, if the voice actually changes, right? If we have now Microsoft Hazel instead of David. Let's see.
We want some more proof. Pretty cool, huh?
Okay, let's have one more look here at the voices. So we also have Zira desktop voice. Let's try that for a change. We not have Hazel now, we have a Zira desktop, so we add that to our script that calls this function with the different voices and input parameter, and then your module will behave differently. So let's try that.
We want some more proof. Pretty cool, huh?
Pretty cool, huh?
Another line. And this will be the last line. We do another magic line.
Okay. So now you've seen that, of course. I will remove a couple of those lines. You believe that now, I guess, that works. So let's see what we can do more. We can make it a little bit more advanced, because, for instance, when I specify here Mark's voice, what do you expect what happens? I know, it will fail, of course. Let's see.
We want some more proof.
See?
And this will be the last line.
Selected voice.
We do another magic line.
You see? So it sort of falls back to the default. So it cannot actually change the voice there because we provided the wrong argument there. And we can fix that, and I'll show you how. I already created a video on how to use ValidateSet as a parameter option, so to speak, and I'll teach you how that works. Yes, and we can do that by adding a ValidateSet here. ValidateSet. I think this is the syntax. I think you can provide some values there. So let's check our previous output again. Hang on, I have that here. So let's, of course, I always do it this way. It's pretty lame because we also have a name. What I can do here as well is select name. If you run it now again, we only get those names back. You know, it's a little bit neater, and we can basically stick these names inside of our argument ValidateSet there. So let's do that. Let's stick Microsoft David desktop inside of there. It will be a little bit long, this syntax, and I can do it, by the way, like this as well. Multiple lines, so let's do that. Let's move the ValidateSet to there, and then we add Hazel desktop as well, and we add Zira desktop as an argument, as a valid input, so to speak. Yes, let's be consistent there. Remove that. And now, basically what we have done, this select voice, you know, that changes on this voice, that won't accept the wrong value, so to speak. It will only accept one of these three values, and I will demonstrate that. So, and the nice thing we can do now, if we do a re-import of this module, I do that by pressing F8. Yes, so now I've got the module re-imported, and if you now do a space here, and we do, you see, so you have three choices now. Microsoft David desktop, Hazel desktop, of Zira. So let's take Zira and run our script.
We want some more proof.
See?
And this will be the last line.
Last line.
We do another magic line.
Another magic line, so it was not really the last line. But so yeah, so if you do minus voice, and then you do a space bar, and then you do control space, you get the options. What you can also do is type Microsoft, you see, and then you also get like the values you can select. So let's take David. Let's take David this time.
We want some more proof.
And now we have David.
And this will be the last line.
Inside of the speech engine,
we do another magic line.
We'll imagine another magic line. Okay, let's see. For the module, we change the voice. Perhaps we have some more fun if there's time. Let me see if we have time left. Because it's already... yeah, okay, I think we have a little bit time left. Let me see if I can make up of something else. No, not really. I think this is it. I'm quite satisfied with this. Some fun with the speech engine, and I hope that teach you some stuff as well on modules and functions and input parameters and ValidateSet. You know, we build up very slowly to a more advanced speech function inside of a module. Okay, that comes to the last slide. Thanks again, and see you again. Bye.